this lesson we're going to look at how we can bring all the information together into an interactive Power View dashboard. So we're going to start at the top here. We're going to just add a title. So let's call it an interactive dashboard. Okay, and as we've already seen, if we wanted to change the theme of this, if we wanted to say make it a bit of an orange, if we want to change our font to say an Arial, you can easily do those. You can also set images as backgrounds and things like that that we've seen. So within our interactive dashboard now, we're first going to start off with some key metrics. So we've seen already from Power Pivot that we've got a number of different ones, such as what is our average age, a number of employees that we've got, average cost per course, average cost per employee, and our total training cost. So we're going to just bring those together. So let's say, for an example, let's start with our number of employees, our average age, average cost per course, average cost per employee, number of courses, and our total training cost. Okay, so we've got that information now, and as we've already seen with our key metrics, we can change the view of this. So you could have this, and you could use our text over here, for example, to increase the size of this if you wanted to make it easier to see, or we could change this to say a card, which gives it a little bit more of a view. And again, you can play around with your text settings and how big you want to see this information. But this key metric information is quite useful to have at the top of our dashboard. Next piece of information we might want to see is we might want to see, say for instance, a trend graph, and we might want to see, for example, how many employees have been on training and what was the total training cost. So we're going to take our month, and we're going to use our month to be able to use this. So we're going to put our month number down here. And we're going to use our number of employees, which is our employee ID, and we're going to use our training cost, total training cost over here. So our employee ID, we obviously want to count that so we can see how many employees have been on it, and our month, obviously we would want to not summarize this because we want to see by month. So we can see now the count of employees and what the total training cost was. So if we want to change this into a line chart, we'll see that we got both pieces of information here. As we can see, because it's thousands versus the amount, it maybe doesn't make sense for us to have a number of employees as part of this specific graph. So what we might want to do is rather have two smaller graphs, for example. So let's keep this graph here. Let's take out the count of employees. Remember, we can just move it back over here. So there we got our training cost by month. And let's create a new graph. Let's now take our month again. And this time we're going to count our number of employees. So again, we're going to change our employees. We're going to say we want to count them, and our months we do not want to summarize. And again, now over here on the chart, we can use our line chart, and we can now see the number of employees that have been on training. So we've got two nice graphs now. That shows the number of employees and the training cost. The other part that we may be interested to see is, for example, what is the total training cost, and we might want to break this down by, say, department. Now, as we've already seen, by adding bar or column graphs, we can also create an interactive method of being able to filter this data. So we're going to now we're going to go to our master file, and we're going to use our department, and over here we'll go down to our workshops, and we'll take our training cost. And we're going to make this now a column chart. So let's make it a clustered column. Get a little bit of size. And as we've seen previously now, once we've got this in place, is that we can actually add our labels if we want. And I'm going to put them on the outside end. So we can see our total training cost by department here. So if we click on production now, we'll see our training cost by month and our training cost by number of employees by month as well. And we can easily change this. Also at the top, you'll see that the number of the key metrics will also change. Now, one of the things that we do now, we've got a little bit of an issue with, is this is actually showing us the total by month for all years. So what we might want to do is add years over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually add it straight onto the actual sheet over here, and it's going to show us a sum of all the years. And what we're going to do with this now is we're going to say do not summarize, so it actually shows us all our years. And what we're going to do with this now is we're going to click on this, and we're going to create this into a slicer. So Slicer is another filtering tool. So now that we created this as a slicer, we can increase the text a little bit if we want. We can actually now say, for example, if we only want to see 2014 or 2013. And you see now that we get better options. Obviously not much data in 2012. So we'll keep 2013. And again, this works hand in hand with the fact of being able to change our departments. So straight away we're starting to create some pretty interactive options. Now the last one we're going to look at over here is to create a pie graph. Now we already know that we can see the number of people who have attended courses by gender. But let's say we want to see the number of people who have attended by gender and also the training cost by gender. So we're going to create two pie graphs over here to see these numbers. So we're going to start off with the fact we go to our master. Okay, so we're going to put our gender onto the sheet. We've got our gender over here. And then we want to know what is our total training cost by gender. So we're going to add that down to our fields over here. Okay, so we've got a total training cost by gender. Now what we can do over here is we can go to our other chart and we can pick a pie chart. And we can now see the breakdown by gender. And yet again, the pie chart can also be quite useful in the fact of being able to filter. So if we want to see, say, female, now you'll see all of the other charts now are filtered by the fact of female. And if we want to see female and production like we did in the previous lesson, again we're able to do that. So very powerful in terms of the ability of what we can do here. So let's just click on the white space here, remove that. So we've got a training cost by gender. Now one of the bit of the problems that we come across here is I would like to see some labels on this. And I want to see the percentages, for example. However, if we go to layout, you'll see with data labels, we can now, if we click on our actual pie graph, you'll see that data labels is not actually enabled. So at the moment we actually cannot place data labels onto a pie graph, which is a little bit of an issue. What you've actually got to do is you've got to put your tool tip over here to actually get the numbers themselves, which is not ideal. Often what we do just to be able to get past this is to be able to actually take the actual information as a table and put it underneath here. So if I was to say take my gender and go back to my workshop over here and use my training cost, you see now it creates a little mini table and I can put that, say, underneath here. So say for example I click on sales now. Now it shows me percentage wise what has actually happened in terms of female and male, but here I can actually see the actual cost themselves, which does give me some good information. Okay, and I'm going to show that approach again. We're going to do, instead of training cost by gender, we're actually going to do the number of employees by gender also to do a pie chart. So let's just go to our master again, go gender, and again we go female and male. We're going to go back to our workshops over here, and let's go to employee ID, and we're going to count the number of employees here. Okay, so again now we can click on this onto other chart. So we want a pie chart, and again we've got a similar looking pie chart here. Okay, this is a count of employee ID, and as you can see the ratios are pretty similar to the actual training costs as well. And again we could create a little mini table over here. Just use our gender. And again we're going to go back to our workshops. And we're going to take our employee IDs. And you can see that table's been placed over here. So let's just move it down here. Okay, so obviously we don't want it to sum our employee ID, but rather count. And we can see the numbers over here. Okay, so what you'll see now is that we've got a fully interactive dashboard that we can use, showing us key metrics at the top here, showing us trends over here. We have a slicer to select specific years. Again, if I click on the slicer here, I can change the different years. And we have our breakdown on training cost by department, and we have two pie graphs showing us a breakdown by training cost by gender and the count of employees. So this shows us the power of Power View to be able to create interactive dashboards very quickly, showing us some really great information. This concludes this lecture.